Daniel's first memory was the sound of a low hum. It was steady, almost like the quiet song of a machine working far away. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the soft white light that filled the room. The ceiling above him was smooth and curved, with faint lines that pulsed gently with light. It took him a moment to realize he was lying on a bed. His mind felt heavy, as if he had been sleeping for days. He tried to remember what had happened. The last thing he recalled was the shuttle's controls shaking under his hands as the alarm blared. Rocks the size of buildings had spun through space outside the window. Then there had been a flash. Everything after that was a blur. Daniel turned his head slightly. The bed was surrounded by clean, silver walls that seemed to flow together with no seams. A faint scent of antiseptic hung in the air, mixed with something cooler, like filtered air from a mountain peak. Across the room stood a tall figure. She was not human. Her skin was a smooth silver gray, not metallic but alive, with faint patterns that shifted when she moved. Her eyes were bright green, clear and sharp, like polished glass catching light. She wore a uniform that was white with blue markings across the chest and shoulders. A thin, silver badge was pinned to her collar. She moved toward him with calm, even steps, her posture straight and her expression unreadable. "You are awake," she said, her voice low but carrying a certain strength. "Do not move too quickly. You are in the medical bay of the Auror's reach." Daniel tried to push himself up on his elbows, but a dull ache ran through his body. "The shuttle, what happened? Where am I?" His voice came out rough. She reached for a small control panel beside his bed and adjusted something. A soft warmth spread through his arms and chest, easing the ache. "Your shuttle was caught in an asteroid storm," she explained. "You were found unconscious. The rescue team brought you aboard. I am Mira. I am the medical officer assigned to your recovery." Daniel gave a small nod. He glanced at his clothes. He was wearing a light, gray fabric that wasn't his own. His boots and jacket were gone. He felt a flicker of unease but pushed it down. "I feel fine," he said, trying again to sit up. Mira stepped forward in a single smooth motion. Her hand came down gently but firmly on his shoulder, pressing him back against the bed. "Not yet," she said. "You have not been cleared for movement. It is standard procedure to keep a survivor still until we complete the examination." Her touch was firm, but not harsh. Still, Daniel could feel the strength behind it. She could have held him down without effort if she wanted. "I don't need an examination," he argued, though the weakness in his limbs betrayed him. "I just need to get up." "And you were in an uncontrolled impact," she interrupted. "Your injuries may not be visible. You could have internal damage, neural disruption, or exposure to energy fields from the storm. If you move too soon, you could make it worse. I will not allow that." Something in her voice carried authority. Daniel let out a breath and stopped pushing against her hand. He could tell she was not trying to threaten him. She was simply certain of what needed to be done. He looked around again. To the left of his bed was a long counterline with instruments. He didn't recognize smooth devices with glowing lines and symbols that shifted when touched. A large screen on the wall showed his heartbeat, displayed as a soft green wave that pulsed steadily. Beside it were numbers and symbols he could not read. The hum in the room was constant, but now he noticed softer sounds layered under it, clicks and faint beeps from the machines, and the distant echo of footsteps in the quarter outside. "How long was I out?" Daniel asked. 17 hours, Mira replied. "During that time, you were kept under observation. Your breathing and heart rhythm were irregular for the first 4 hours, but they have stabilized. That is a good sign." He studied her face. For a moment, her features were not like human ones, yet there was something calm and measured in them that made her easier to trust. "So what happens now?" "Now," she said, moving to a small tray at the foot of his bed, "we begin the scan." She picked up a thin silver disc no larger than her palm. "It will check for injuries, foreign particles, or energy residue. You must remain still while it works. It will not harm you." Daniel hesitated. "Energy residue? You mean radiation?" Mira shook her head slightly. "Not exactly. There are many types of exposure in deep space. Radiation is only one. Some are less understood. Some can enter the body without leaving a physical mark. We must be sure you are clear before you move freely. Her words made Daniel's mind flick back to the moment before the crash. The strange flicker he thought he had seen in the asteroid field, like something moving between the rocks. He thought about mentioning it, but he stayed quiet. It could have just been a trick of the light. Mira stepped closer again, her eyes meeting his. "Stay still," she said. The disc in her hand began to glow softly, a faint blue ring of light, moving outward from the center. She placed it gently against his forehead. The moment it touched, Daniel felt a spreading warmth travel down through his head and into his chest. It was not unpleasant, but it made him sharply aware of his heartbeat. The hum in the room seemed to deepen, as if the machines were listening. Mira stood by the bed, watching the light move slowly across him. Her expression did not change, but Daniel thought he saw a flicker of focus in her eyes, as though she were paying attention to something only she could see. He lay there in silence, the warmth spreading all the way to his fingertips. Somewhere deep inside, a small voice told him this was not going to be a normal medical check. The soft blue light from the disc slowly faded, and Mira stepped back. She placed the scanning device on the counter, her movements precise and practiced. Daniel felt the warmth in his chest fading, replaced by a faint stiffness in his arms and legs. He shifted slightly, testing his strength. "I told you," he said, trying to sound confident. "I feel fine. Whatever you needed to check, it's done now. I just want to get up and look around." Mira did not answer right away. She turned to the large display screen on the wall, studying the readings. The soft green wave of his heartbeat still pulsed steadily, but now there were several new lines of data, symbols he could not read. Her eyes moved over them with sharp focus, her expression giving away nothing. Daniel pushed his hands against the bed, trying to sit up. His muscles were weak, but he managed to raise himself halfway before Mira turned back toward him. In two long strides, she was at his side, her hand pressed gently against his shoulder, and her other hand moved to his forearm. Her grip was not painful, but there was no question that she could hold him there for as long as she wanted. "You cannot get up yet," she said, her voice calm but firm. "The scan is only the first stage. You must stay still until the second stage is complete." "I've been lying here for hours," Daniel argued. "I need to move around. My legs feel like they've been asleep." "That is because your muscles are still adjusting to the changes from the storm," Mira replied. "Moving too soon could cause harm. You are not ready." Daniel frowned. "I can handle it. I've been through worse." Mira's green eyes met his directly. "Perhaps you have, but you are in my care now. I will follow the procedure. This is not about what you think you can handle. It is about keeping you alive." The firmness in her voice made Daniel hesitate. He had met many people in his life who gave orders, but there was something different about her tone. It carried no anger, no impatience, just a certainty that left no room for argument. He eased back slightly, but he still wanted to push her limits. "So you're telling me you're just going to keep me here, lying still, while you run more tests?" "Yes," she said simply, "and I will hold you here if I must." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You think you can?" Without answering, Mira shifted her stance slightly, placing her weight in such a way that her balance was perfect. Her hand on his shoulder pressed a little more firmly, guiding him back against the bed. Her other hand moved to the edge of the mattress, as if anchoring him there. Daniel tried to move again, not to fight her, but just to see if she would actually stop him. Her grip tightened just enough to make it clear that he wasn't going anywhere. She was not using her full strength, but even at this level, it was enough to overpower him completely. "Standard procedure," she repeated, her voice quieter now, but no less steady. "I will not risk an uncontrolled reaction." "What kind of reaction are we talking about?" he asked. "Your body has been through a severe environmental event," Mira said. "There could be delayed effects. I need to be certain there is nothing inside you that should not be there." Daniel tilted his head. "Inside me? You mean injuries?" "Injuries are one thing," she replied. "Other things are less obvious. Sometimes survivors from the outer asteroid fields return with petitions, microscopic, energetic, sometimes alive. The last word hung in the air for a moment. Daniel felt a chill at the base of his neck. He thought again of the strange flicker he had seen in the asteroid field before the crash. He wanted to believe it was nothing, but the way Mira spoke made him less sure. So you're saying I might have something living inside me? I am saying I do not know yet, Mira said, and until I do, you will remain still. Her eyes did not waver. Daniel realized she was not trying to scare him, she was simply telling the truth. The sound of the medical bay's air filters filled the silence between them. Daniel slowly let his head rest back against the pillow. Fine, he said at last, you win. This is not about winning, Mira said. She released her grip slightly, but kept one hand resting lightly on his arm, as if ready to hold him again if he tried to move. This is about following the steps that keep people alive. Daniel watched her for a moment. There was no triumph in her expression, no satisfaction at having made him comply. She moved with the calm focus of someone who had done this many times before. She reached for the control panel again, pressing a series of buttons. A soft vibration ran through the bed, followed by a low chime. The stabilizing field is active, she explained. It will keep your muscles relaxed and your circulation steady while I prepare the next scan. Daniel glanced at the counter full of instruments. You've got a lot of strange-looking tools here. Are they all for checking injuries? Some are for injuries, she said. Some are for removing unwanted things. Others are for keeping something inside the body from waking up. Before we are ready to deal with it, Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. That last one sounds unsettling. It should, Mira replied. The galaxy is not safe. You have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. My task is to make sure that does not become permanent. Daniel let out a slow breath. He still didn't like being restrained, but the more she spoke, the more he understood that whatever she was worried about was not something he wanted to take. Lightly, Mira stepped back briefly to check the readings on the main screen again. Her eyes scanned the data quickly, her posture still perfect. Your vital signs are stable, she said. That is good. Now I will prepare the D-player scan. Another scan? Daniel asked. Yes, she said. The first one checked your physical structure. This one will check your neural patterns and energy fields. If something foreign has attached itself to you, this is how we find it. Daniel lay back, watching as she moved toward the counter to collect another device. It was longer than the disc from before, shaped like a thin rod with a smooth crystal. At one end, as she approached, the crystal glowed faintly. She stopped beside the bed. This one will require you to stay even more still than before, she said. Do not speak while it is active. Daniel glanced at her hands. They were steady, precise. He knew she meant what she said. All right, he replied. Mira gave a single nod. Good, we begin now. The room was quiet except for the steady hum of the medical bay. Daniel lay still on the bed, watching Mira prepare the device in her hands. The rod-shaped tool looked almost fragile, but the way she handled it told him it was anything but. The crystal tip glowed faintly, casting a soft light on her silver-gray skin. Mira moved with careful precision, as if each motion had been repeated countless times before. She adjusted a control on the side of the device, and the glow shifted from pale blue to a deeper shade, almost like the color of the asteroid field he remembered before the crash. You must remain completely still, she said, her voice calm, yet carrying weight. Any sudden motion will disrupt the scan. If that happens, we would have to start over, and the risk would increase. Daniel gave a small nod. Understood. Mira positioned herself beside the bed, leaning slightly so the device was close to his forehead. This is a D-player neural and field scan, she explained. It will read the patterns of your nervous system, detect irregularities, and look for any foreign presence, if something is there. This will reveal it. Daniel tried to keep his breathing slow and steady. And if you find something? Her green eyes met his for a moment. Then we act before it acts. There was no fear in her tone, but there was no softness either. She pressed a button, and the device emitted a low tone that vibrated faintly through the bed. Daniel felt the first wave of warmth as the crystal touched the skin just above his eyebrows. The sensation spread through his head, down the back of his neck, and into his spine. It was not painful, but it was strange, like a warm current moving through his nerves. The glow brightened slightly, and the hum deepened. Daniel kept his eyes open, staring at the ceiling as the warmth began to move into his chest. For a moment, he felt as though his heartbeat was echoing louder than before, each beat almost in time with the hum of the device. "What exactly are you looking for?" he asked quietly. "Patterns that do not belong," Mira replied. "Your nervous system should have a natural rhythm. If there's a foreign signal, it will stand out." Daniel thought about that for a moment. "You're saying something could be connected to my nerves?" "Yes," she said. "It could be connected. It could be hiding. Or it could be trying to copy the patterns of your mind so it can remain undetected." The idea made Daniel's skin prickle. He thought again of the flickering shadow he had seen in the asteroid field. It had moved too quickly to be a rock, too strangely to be debris. He had brushed it off at the time, but now he was not so sure. The warmth from the device shifted suddenly, becoming more intense in his right arm. Mira adjusted her grip on the tool, her eyes focused on the display at its base. Thin lines of green light moved across the surface like flowing water. "What is it?" Daniel asked. "Something," she said quietly. "Not harmful yet, but not natural either." Daniel's pulse quickened. "Do you know what it is?" "Not yet. This is why we scan deeply." "Hold still." The light from the crystal began to pulse, each glow brighter than the last. Daniel felt a faint tingling in his fingertips, almost like the static charge before a storm. The sensation moved up his arm, through his chest, and into his head. Mira adjusted the angle slightly, and the tingling faded. "It is staying in one place for now," she said. "That is good. If it were moving, this would be more dangerous." Daniel swallowed hard. "What happens if it moves?" "Then it could reach your brain before I can stop it," Mira said simply. "That is why you must not move at all. Even a small shift could cause it to react." Daniel froze, barely daring to breathe. The hum of the device was now the only sound he could focus on. It was steady, controlled, but he could feel the tension in the air. Minutes passed slowly. Mira worked in silence, guiding the device carefully across his forehead, then along the side of his head, then down toward his neck. The glow changed slightly with each movement, as if adjusting to the layers it scanned. Daniel's thoughts wandered to the possibility of something alive inside him, something small, hidden, waiting. He had traveled through dangerous regions of space before, but he had always thought of danger as something outside a damaged ship, a failing engine, a hostile patrol. The idea that danger could be inside his own body was something else entirely. Mira finally lifted the device slightly, letting the glow fade. "The scan is complete," she said. "It confirmed the presence of an energy signature in your nervous system. It is dormant, but it is connected deeply enough that removing it will require precision." Daniel exhaled slowly, realizing he had been holding his breath. "So it's real? Something's actually inside me." "Yes," Mira said. "But you are fortunate. It is not active. If it were, we might not be having this conversation." He tried to lighten the mood, though. His voice was tight. "And I suppose this is where your standard procedure comes in again?" Her lips curved slightly, not a smile, but something close. "Yes. Standard procedure keeps people alive. You will learn to appreciate it." Daniel leaned back against the bed, his mind racing. He had no idea what this thing was or how it had gotten into him. All he knew was that Mira was his only line of defense right now. Mira placed the device back on the counter and began preparing something else. "We will begin containment soon," she said. "Once it is contained, you will be free to move again. Until then, you remain here." Daniel nodded slowly. He did not like the thought of staying pinned to the bed, but for the first time since waking up, he was starting to understand why. Daniel lay on the bed, the hum of the medical bay still steady in the background. Mira moved to a nearby console, her fingers gliding across the glowing surface. Strange symbols shifted and rearranged themselves, lines of data running upward. In quick streams, she studied them carefully, her expression calm but focused. He wanted to ask what she saw, but before he could speak, Mira turned toward him. The scan is clear enough for me to proceed with questions, she said. Sometimes the answers tell me more than the data. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Questions? About what? About the moments before your shuttle was damaged, she replied, and about anything you may have seen, felt, or heard that did not seem normal. Daniel hesitated. The image of that flickering shadow in the asteroid field came to his mind again, sharp and clear. He had pushed it aside earlier, thinking it might have been nothing, but now he was less sure. Mira stepped closer to the bed, her green eyes steady. On him, start from the moment you entered the storm, she said. Every detail matters. Daniel let out a slow breath. All right. The shuttle was on course to the mining station on Vega Route 9. The storm hit faster than expected. Rocks were everywhere, spinning so fast I could barely track them. I tried to adjust the shields, but something overloaded the controls. Was there anything unusual in the storm itself? She asked. He nodded slowly. Yes, I saw something. Not a rock, not a ship, just a shape. It was black, but it didn't block the light like a solid object would. It was almost like it was there and not there at the same time. It flickered. Mira's expression sharpened. Did it move? Yes, Daniel said. It moved between the rocks, like it was watching me. Then it came closer. And the shuttle systems went crazy. That's the last thing I remember before waking up here. Mira studied him for a long moment. You are certain of this? As certain as I can be, he said. It was strange. I've been through asteroid fields before. I've never seen anything like it. Mira walked to the far wall, where a small storage unit slid open at her touch. She removed a slim, metallic case and set it on the counter. That shape you saw was likely a void entity, she said. They do not have a fixed form. They move between dimensions and feed on energy. When they find a target, they attach themselves sometimes to machines, sometimes to living beings. Daniel's stomach tightened, and you think one of them attached itself to me. It is possible, she replied. Your scan showed an energy signature unlike anything natural to your species. It is faint, which means it is not active yet. But if it wakes, it will attempt to merge with your nervous system completely. He frowned. Why? What would it want from me? Survival, Mira said. And movement. It uses the host's body to travel, to feed, and to hide. By the time most people know they are carrying one, it is already too late. Daniel was silent for a moment. The idea of something inside him, waiting to take control, made his skin crawl. So that's why you don't want me moving. Yes, she said. Movement increases the flow of energy through the nervous system. That can trigger it. My task is to keep it dormant until it can be removed. Mira returned to the console and tapped a new sequence of commands. A small holographic display rose above the surface, showing a faint outline of a human body. His body, a glowing thread of light, ran from the base of the neck to the upper spine. That is where it is now, she explained, pointing to the thin line. It is embedded in the nerve tissue. Moving too quickly could allow it to spread. Daniel studied the image. So how did it get there? Did it pass through the hull? Yes, Mira said. Void entities can slip through physical material when their energy field is tuned to a certain frequency. The asteroid storm would have been perfect cover. Your shields were likely weakened by debris impacts, and it took advantage. He shook his head slowly. I should have known something was wrong. The way it moved, it wasn't random. They are intelligent, Mira said. Not in the way you are, but enough to hunt. Her voice carried no fear. But Daniel noticed the way she kept glancing at the readings on the console. She was measuring every second, every change. Mira moved back to the bed. One more question, she said. When you saw it, did you feel anything unusual? Heat, cold, pressure? Daniel thought back carefully. I felt heavy, like the air in the shuttle got thick. My arms and legs felt slower, like I was moving through water. And there was a sound, a low hum. Not from the ship, different, almost like it was inside my head. Mira gave a small nod. That is consistent with an approach pattern. It was already preparing to enter you. Daniel felt his pulse quicken. And you've dealt with this before? Yes, she said. Not often, but enough to know the danger. She placed her hand lightly on his forearm. You are fortunate. Most who encounter them do not survive the first hour. The fact that yours is dormant means we have time, but not much. Daniel looked into her eyes. There was no panic there, but also no softness. Just focus. Like someone who had been through this before and understood exactly how bad it could get. Mira stepped away again, opening the metallic case she had brought from storage. Inside was a small, circular device with dark glass at the center. This will be the containment unit, she said. When I remove the entity, it will be sealed inside. But before we begin, I must run one final test to confirm its state. That is why I needed your account of the events. Daniel nodded. Slowly, I've told you everything I remember. Good, she said. Then we moved to the next stage. Her words carried a finality that made Daniel realize the questioning was over. Whatever came next would not be about talking, it would be about survival. The morning light was soft when Aaron woke up. His body felt lighter than the night before. The treatment had reduced his fever and cleared the pain in his chest. The medical room was quiet except for the low hum of machines. He looked around and saw that Mira was sitting by the door, reading something on a small screen. When she noticed him moving, she stood and walked over. Her steps were silent, but her sharp eyes were already studying him. How do you feel? She asked. Better. Aaron replied. Stronger than before. She nodded. That means the procedure worked. You should be able to walk today. But you are still under observation. Aaron swung his legs over the side of the bed. Observation for what? You've tested me, scanned me, kept me here for 2 days. What else is there to check? Mira tilted her head slightly. Your body is reacting well, but the real concern is not the injury. It is your presence here. You are human, and humans are rare in this sector. The command will want to know why you arrived. Aaron met her gaze. I told you. My ship was attacked. I escaped. That is the truth. She studied him for a moment longer before speaking. The truth can have many layers. I believe you, but others will want proof. And until they decide, you are my responsibility. He stood slowly. His legs were steady. Your responsibility, yes, she said plainly. Standard procedure. Any non-local who arrives injured must be monitored by the medic who first treats them. That means you stay with me. Aaron was quiet for a moment. He was beginning to understand something about her. Mira followed rules closely, but she was not unkind. Her way of speaking was direct, almost too direct, but her actions showed she cared about the people under her watch. She handed him a folded gray uniform. Wear this. Your clothes are being cleaned and repaired. We will walk the station today. I want to see how your body reacts to normal movement. Aaron changed into the uniform. It fit well enough, though the sleeves were a little long. When they stepped out into the corridor, the air smelled faintly metallic. The station was larger than he expected, with long halls lined with glowing panels. Mira walked at a steady pace, her eyes always scanning their surroundings. She pointed out sections of the station as they passed engineering, hydroponics, and observation decks. Everywhere they went, people glanced at Aaron with quiet curiosity. Do they not see humans often? He asked. No, Mira replied. Most here have never met one. The last human to pass through this station came 6 years ago. And what happened to them? Her expression stayed calm. They left, no record of where. They reached a wide window overlooking the planet below. Its surface was covered in green storms that moved slowly across the horizon. Aaron stepped closer, fascinated. That's not Earth, but it almost feels alive. He said, It is alive. Mira replied, The storms are not weather. They are the movement of the planet's outer layer. It grows and shifts like skin. Aaron stared for a long moment. And people live down there, yes, but not like us. They are adapted to the surface. You would not survive more than a few hours. They moved on. Mira guided him into a training area. It was quiet, with only a few people practicing hand-to-hand drills. She gestured toward the open floor. We will test your movement. Light exercise only. Aaron raised an eyebrow. You think I can fight right now? I think you can move, she replied. They began with simple stretches, then slow steps. In short runs, Aaron's breathing stayed even, and his balance was strong. Mira watched carefully, adjusting his stance when needed. "You recover quickly," she said. "Faster than most here." Aaron shrugged. "Humans are tougher than they look." "That may be true," she replied, "but toughness alone does not keep you alive out here. You will need allies." The words carried weight. Aaron noticed she was not just talking about physical survival. Something about the way she glanced toward the far corners of the room told him there was more going on in this station than simple medical work. By the end of the session, Aaron felt almost back to normal. Mira seemed satisfied, though she made no sign of relaxing. As they left the training area, a voice called out from down the hall, "Medic Mira." A tall man in dark armor approached. His voice was firm. "The commander requests your presence. Bring the human." Mira gave a short nod. "Understood." They followed the armored man through a series of secured doors until they reached a large room with a high ceiling. The commander stood near a table covered in maps and data screens. His eyes were sharp and calculating. "So," the commander said, looking at Aaron, "this is the human who arrived unannounced." Aaron stood still. "Yes. I didn't mean to intrude." "That will be determined," the commander replied. "You will answer questions about your route, your attackers, and your purpose. If your answers satisfy me, you may be allowed to leave this station. If not," he let the sentence hang in the air. Mira stepped slightly forward. "Commander, I have examined him. His story holds no obvious lies. His injuries match his account." Commander studied her, then looked back at Aaron. "We will see. The truth will come out one way or another." The meeting was brief. They were dismissed. But Aaron could feel the commander's eyes on him until the door closed. Back in the corridor, Mira spoke quietly. "You will need to be careful now. The commander trusts very few, and you are an unknown." Aaron nodded. "Then I'll make sure I give him no reason to doubt me." Her voice stayed steady. "Good. But remember, sometimes doubt comes even when you do nothing wrong. Stay close to me." "Standard procedure." Aaron gave a small smile. "I'm starting to think standard procedure just means you're not letting me out of your sight." Mira didn't answer. She just kept walking, her eyes forward. Yet Aaron thought he saw the corner of her mouth lift, just for a second. The sound of the heavy metal door closing behind Daniel echoed in the narrow passage. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, his boots tapping against the smooth floor. The air inside felt cooler, as if it had not been touched by the outside world for years. The walls on both sides were made of a strange silver metal, smooth and seamless, giving off a faint reflection of the dim lights above. Rhea walked beside him, her steps slow and careful. Her eyes scanned every corner. She seemed tense, as if she was expecting something to appear at any moment. The silence between them was broken only by the faint hum of machinery. Somewhere deep inside the structure. Daniel asked quietly, "Where are we going?" Rhea kept her eyes forward. "To the core room. If what you said about the black signal is true, we must check the main control unit. But we must be careful. If the system sees you as a threat, it will not hesitate to remove you." Her words made Daniel uneasy. "Remove me? You mean like throw me out?" She gave him a side glance. "No, I mean permanently." Daniel felt a shiver run down his spine. He decided not to ask more questions for now. Instead, he focused on his surroundings. They passed several sealed doors, each marked with strange alien symbols. One door was slightly open, and Daniel noticed faint blue light spilling out from it. But Rhea did not stop, so he followed her lead. After a long walk, they reached a large round door at the end of the corridor. It was taller than 3 men stacked on top of each other, and it looked like it was carved from a single piece of metal. Rhea stepped forward and placed her hand on a glowing panel. A soft chime sounded, and the door slowly slid open with a deep hiss. Inside was a massive chamber, circular in shape, with a tall column rising from the center to the ceiling. The column pulsed with slow, steady light like a heartbeat, round. It were dozens of consoles, each covered with strange alien writing and glowing diagrams. The air felt charged, as if a silent energy was flowing through the room. "This is the core," Rhea said softly. "It is the mind of the base. Every order, every function, every defense system begins here." Daniel stepped closer to the central column. "And you think this thing can tell us where that signal came from?" "It can do more than that," Rhea replied. "It can show us why it was sent and what it means for both our people." She walked over to one of the consoles and began pressing the alien symbols with precise movements. The lights on the column began to change, shifting from calm blue to a deeper, more urgent red. The hum in the air grew louder. Daniel frowned. Is that supposed to happen?" Rhea did not look up. "It is reacting to you. It knows you are here. Stay still." Daniel's heart began to race. He felt an odd sensation, as if invisible hands were scanning his body. His vision blurred for a second, and he thought he heard a voice, not out loud, but inside his head. The voice was calm yet heavy with authority. "Human presence detected. Identity unknown. Clarified purpose." Daniel blinked. "Did you hear that?" Rhea finally looked at him. "It spoke to you?" "Yes," Daniel said. "It wants to know why I'm here." She nodded slowly. "Then answer it, but choose your words carefully. The core understands truth, and it also knows lies." Daniel swallowed and spoke aloud. "I'm here to help. There's a threat, and I think it's connected to your system. I want to stop it." There was a pause. Then the voice returned. "Threat. Confirmed external signal of hostile nature received. Source unknown. Human is registered as possible key." Rhea's eyes widened. "It says you are a possible key." Daniel stared at the column. "A key to what?" Before either of them could speak further, the lights in the room suddenly flickered. A sharp alarm echoed through the chamber. The column's color turned a deep crimson, and the hum became a high-pitched whine. "Warning. Unauthorized entry detected in Sector 4. Rhea's expression hardened. "They found us." Daniel stepped back. "Who's they?" "Not my people," Rhea said. "If the core is correct, it is the group behind the black signal." She tapped the console quickly, and a holographic display appeared in the air, showing several dark figures moving through the base's corridors. Daniel felt his muscles tense. The figures looked nothing like the alien crew members he had seen earlier. These shapes were thin, their limbs too long, their heads covered in some kind of armor. They moved with unnatural speed. "We cannot fight them here," Rhea said. "If they damage the core, all systems will collapse. What do we do?" She glanced at the column. "We ask for its help." She raised her voice. "Core, protect this human. Guide us to safety." The lights on the column shifted again, and the voice returned. "Directive accepted. Route to emergency chamber opened. Follow the lights." The floor beneath them lit up with a glowing path leading toward a narrow side door. Rhea pulled Daniel along, and they ran into the passage. The walls here were closer, the ceiling lower, and the air carried the faint scent of ozone. Behind them, the sound of metal claws scraping against the floor echoed closer and closer. They turned a corner and entered a smaller chamber. In the center stood a strange circular device, its surface covered in pulsing patterns. Rhea stepped onto it and motioned for Daniel to follow. "This is a transport ring," she said quickly. "It will take us to a safe zone. Stand still." Daniel stepped onto the ring. A moment later, light rose from its edges, surrounding them in a sphere of energy. He felt his body lift slightly. Then in a blink, the chamber around them vanished. When the light faded, they were in a new room, larger, warmer, and with a high ceiling. The walls here were covered with panels displaying maps of the base. In the center of the room stood an elderly alien with deep blue skin and eyes like polished glass. He wore a long robe and leaned on a metal staff. "Rhea," the elder said, in a deep voice, "you bring a human to this place. That has not happened in many years." Rhea bowed her head. "Elder Core, this human may be the key to stopping the black signal." The elder studied Daniel for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then the time has truly come." Daniel looked between them. "Time for what?" Elder Core's gaze was steady. "Time for the human to learn the truth about why he is here, and what was hidden from him since the moment he arrived." Rian stood on the edge of the hangar, looking out at the open airfield where the shuttles waited. The night sky above was quiet, but he knew the silence would not last. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the unknown ship that had caused all this trouble was still moving closer. He could not see it, but he could feel the weight of its presence like a shadow pressing on his thoughts. Commander Sierra stood beside him, her sharp eyes scanning the field. She had been calm through everything, but now there was a faint tension in her shoulders. She was not one to show fear, yet the stakes were clear to both of them. If they failed, here, the base would fall, and with it every person who depended on their defense. A light hum broke the silence as the shuttle doors slid open. Inside, the controls blinked softly. Rian knew this was it. The plan was dangerous. They would not attack directly. Instead, they would send him aboard the enemy craft under the cover of a false signal. It would make the ship think it was receiving a supply pod. Once inside, Rian would plant the pulse device, a compact but powerful tool that would disable the ship's core systems. Long enough for the fleet to arrive, Sierra turned to him. "You are certain you can do this?" she asked, her tone steady but her eyes searching his. Rian nodded. "I have to. No one else can get close without triggering their sensors. The signal mask works best with a single passenger." Her gaze lingered on him for a moment longer. Then she handed him a small data chip. "This holds the final clearance code. Without it, the device will not activate. Do not lose it." Rian took the chip and slipped it into the hidden slot on his wrist console. "I will bring it back," he said. He tried to sound confident, though his mind was racing. Before boarding, he glanced around the hangar. The crew was busy, moving crates and running last checks, but many paused to watch him. Some nodded in quiet encouragement. Others looked away, unable to meet his eyes. It struck him then this was not just another mission. This was the final step that might decide whether they all survived. As the shuttle door closed, the sound of the hangar faded, replaced by the quiet hum of the craft's engine. The launch was smooth, the ground falling away beneath him. Through the front screen, Rian saw the curve of the land below and the dark shape of the enemy ship growing larger. It looked like a shadowed fortress, its surface lined with strange, shifting patterns of light. The false signal began to transmit, and the enemy ship's outer defenses shifted. Openings appeared in its hull, forming a docking path. It was working. Rian's grip on the controls tightened. Every instinct told him to turn back, but he pushed forward. The shuttle entered the docking tunnel. The light dimmed, and the walls closed around him. A heavy clang signaled the seal locking in place. He stood, taking the device from its secure case. It was no larger than his arm, but the power inside it could shut down the largest warship in the sector. Rian moved quickly. His path was clear. On the wrist display, a line of green leading him through narrow corridors. The inside of the ship was colder than he expected, and the air had a faint metallic taste. Strange sounds echoed from deep within, like machinery breathing. At last, he reached the central core chamber. The walls glowed with a dim, shifting blue. In the center was a column of flowing energy, its surface alive with moving light. This was the heart of the ship. He placed the device against the column. The magnetic locks clicked into place. The console lit up, showing the countdown. He entered the final clearance code from the chip Sierra had given him. The numbers began to fall. But then, a sound behind him, soft footsteps. He turned sharply. A figure stood in the shadows. It was not human, tall, thin, with eyes that caught the light like polished metal. It studied him without speaking. "You do not belong here," the figure said in a calm, almost curious tone. Rian's heart pounded, but he forced his voice to stay steady. "I am here to end this." The figure tilted its head. "You think ending us will save you, but you do not see the full picture." The countdown reached 5 seconds. Rian did not answer. He kept his eyes on the device. The figure stepped closer, but too late. A deep pulse shook the chamber. The lights flickered, then went dark. The hum of the ship's systems faded. The figure froze. As if uncertain what to do without the guidance of the ship's core, Rian turned and ran. The path back to the shuttle was lit only by emergency strips. Along the floor, he could feel the ship beginning to drift. Powerless, somewhere behind him, Alarms were starting. He reached the docking bay, jumped inside the shuttle, and disengaged the seal. The craft shot away from the enemy hull, the darkness of space opening around him. Ahead, streaks of light appeared as the fleet arrived. Sarah's voice came through the comm. "Rian, we see you. The enemy ship is offline. Hold position." Relief washed over him. But he did not smile. He knew this was not the end of all dangers. It was only one battle won. Still, as he guided the shuttle toward the fleet, he felt a quiet certainty. He had taken the last step they needed, and for now, that was enough. As checked,